hit that subscribe button, guys, for the latest in boxing. And if you want to support this channel, you could join my Patreon and become a patron. The link is in the description below. So it looks like Anthony Joshua has claimed that he surpassed both Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. And of course, when Anthony Joshua, the unified heavyweight champion of the world, say stuff like this causes mayhem, right? People don't like this, especially boxing fans who don't appreciate the fact that Anthony Joshua is taking the risk and fighting all the other contenders, right? Especially, in other words, Fury fans or Deontay Wilder fanboys. But here's the thing. He did surpass Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Because, 5 years ago, oh wait, you know what, actually 4 years ago, when Deontay Wilder was 29-0, and when Anthony Joshua was 3-0, back then, I remember seeing some boxing fans, this is 100% true, I remember seeing some boxing fans saying back then that, Anthony Joshua could beat Deontay Wilder right now. And I remember at the time, I thought that was funny. I thought it was comical. I laughed at that because I thought to myself, what? Anthony Joshua has 3 professional fights and Deontay Wilder has 29 professional fights. It's way too soon for somebody like Anthony Joshua to face Deontay Wilder. That's what I thought in my mind. Because I remember, like yesterday, seeing those comments. I just thought it was comical. I said, no, it's way too soon to say or to think that Anthony Joshua, that AJ, could defeat Deontay Wilder because he's only had 3 professional fights. But you know what's funny about that? Since then, Deontay Wilder went on to become the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. People begged him to fight Vladimir Klitschko. He didn't want to do it. He avoided him. You know what happened instead? Anthony Joshua was continuing his young career as a professional, fighting guys, these low-level guys. He eventually fought Dillian Whyte, who I think is a really good victory, especially at the time that he fought him, right? Because Dillian Whyte went on to do what he went on to do in his career, right? He beats Dillian Whyte. He then becomes the champion, IBF. And within a year, he fights Vladimir Klitschko, and he unifies with Vladimir Klitschko. Okay? Within 23 months, he has the IBF, the WBA, and the WBO heavyweight championships of the world. Alright, which within 23 months. Deontay Wilder has been the WBC champion for almost 4 years. Coming this January is going to be the 4-year anniversary that Deontay Wilder won his WBC belt, and he never unified with nobody. Wilder did not unify with anybody. I made a video a long time ago saying that Deontay Wilder should feel embarrassed, absolutely embarrassed, that Anthony Joshua just completely leapfrogged him and surpassed him. Because he did, and he accomplished what Deontay Wilder was supposed to accomplish way before Anthony Joshua came into the picture. He became his career progress so much quicker and better. That's why I always say Deontay Wilder's jealous and envious of Anthony Joshua's success. He became a unified champion when Deontay Wilder won his WBC belt when Anthony Joshua had less than 10 fights. Yet this guy still didn't become unified. He still didn't go and attempt to become unified because he was too much of a punk to fight Klitschko. Because guess what? At that particular time, Vladimir Klitschko held all the other belts. Yeah, the only other champion at that particular time was Vladimir Klitschko. So the only way that Deontay Wilder would be able to basically fight and unify with other and basically win the other belts is if he stepped in the ring with Klitschko, but he was too much of a punk to do it, and his team didn't allow him to. His team didn't allow him to because they knew that he wasn't ready. They were afraid that he was going to lose. They protected him. Okay? He was supposed to do that. What happens? We already know what happens. Tyson Fury wins, beats Klitschko, the belts become scattered. Anthony Joshua comes along, wins one of the belts, the IBF strap. He ends up unifying with everybody else. He does what Deontay Wilder didn't do. He fights Vladimir. Okay? So he surpassed him in the sense of where he was. Again, back in the year 2014, Deontay Wilder was probably a bigger name than Anthony Joshua back then because Deontay Wilder had way more fights. He was way more relevant. Joshua had just 3 fights. He was a prospect. And especially when Deontay Wilder first became the champion, the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, of course, more people were looking at him as the number 1 heavyweight than they were Anthony Joshua because at that time, AJ was a prospect. He had like 8-10 fights. So, of course, they were going to be looking at Deontay Wilder. But, of course, Anthony Joshua surpassed him because he went on to win multiple belts. And let's not even talk about the financial situation because we already know who makes the more money here. We already know that Anthony Joshua makes way more money than Deontay Wilder. We know this. These are facts. Deontay Wilder's biggest purse is $2.5 million or something. Anthony Joshua made that type of money in like his 13th pro fight. these are. I'm not sure how true that is, but around there he was making that type of money. But this guy's already a multimillionaire, right? He's made way more money. So we already know two things about Anthony Joshua. He's made way more money than Deontay Wilder, and he has more belts. So he's already been surpassed Wilder. Now when it comes to Tyson Fury never even defended his belts. Tyson Fury, in my opinion, Tyson Fury advanced more than Wilder because Tyson Fury actually fought for several belts, while Deontay Wilder only fought for one, and he's been defending that belt for year after year after year, and it seems like that's all he cares about. All he cares about is defending his belt until he retires. I don't think he even cares about unifying anymore. As long as he got that precious WBC belt that he calls Sophia around his waist, he's happy with that. He's content. I don't even think he has ambitions to become unified or to fight other champions, because if he did, he would have years ago. He would have at least attempted it. But no, he didn't do it. But when it comes to Tyson Fury, he actually had more belts than Deontay Wilder. Obviously now he's stripped. He's no longer the champion. But at one point he was the unified champion. So I think he surpassed Wilder. But when it comes to Fury, like I said, he never defended his belts. It wasn't like he went on a long, championship run defending his belts. After he beat Klitschko, great victory. But guess what? His career was over because he went on a 3 years hiatus. So, Anthony Joshua actually defended his belts, right? He defended his belts several times, Anthony Joshua. He's about to defend his belts against Alexander Povetkin. Anthony Joshua has a lot of legit heavyweights a lot of basically high quality heavyweights in his resume. Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, Dillian White. All those guys are legit high quality heavyweights, high level heavyweights. The best guy in Tyson Fury's entire career is Vladimir Klitschko. But that's it. He only has one good win. That's it. He has one good win while Anthony Joshua has several good wins. So that's why I think he has surpassed both of them. Yeah, he has. I completely agree with AJ. When it comes to Fury, it was unfortunate what happened to his career. But we can't blame Joshua for that. And when it comes to Deontay Wilder, it's no one's fault what happened to his career but his own. It's not Joshua's fault that he wasn't man enough to fight Vladimir or to, at least attempt to get a fight with him. It's not his fault. Why didn't he crash? Deontay Wilder loves fighting in New York City. Why didn't, Vladimir Klitschko went to New York City to defend his undisputed heavyweight championships of the world against Brian Jennings in MGM, in Madison Square Garden. Right there in the Garden. Why didn't, since Deontay Wilder has such big balls, since he's, bomb squad, since he's so feared, why didn't he do what he did with Tyson Fury in Belfast? Why didn't he go to the Garden, Madison Square Garden, and at the weigh-ins, get in the ring and say, yo, Klitschko, you got the rest of the belts. Fight me, homie. Fight me. Why didn't he go to that fight and be at ringside? And then jumped in the ring and be like, yo, Klitschko, I'm WBC champion. I just won this belt against Deverne. Fight me now, homie. I want to become undisputed. Why didn't he do that? You had his team members saying he ain't ready. I remember, what's his name? Jay Diaz was talking about that back in 2012, 2013. Deontay Wilder ain't ready yet. You had his promoter, Louis DeBella, whatever his name is, going around saying that he's fighting Johan Zulpas to prepare himself for Klitschko. This was like 6 months after Klitschko beat Brian Jennings in the Garden. So, you know, Deontay Wilder and his team never planned on fighting Klitschko when he was the champion. They were hoping and waiting until he retired. I'm pretty sure they were so happy when they heard Klitschko retired. They were probably the happiest people in the world. Yes! Finally! Klitschko's over. He's gone. I don't have to worry about people saying, fight Klitschko, Wilder, fight Klitschko, Wilder, don't duck Klitschko, Wilder. Because that's all people were saying when Klitschko was active, when he was champion. They were all accusing Wilder of being a punk and not getting in the ring with Vladimir Klitschko. So I'm pretty sure he was so happy and full of joy when he saw that Klitschko retired, because now nobody has to put pressure on poor Wilder. Nobody has to put pressure on poor Wilder to get in the ring with Klitschko, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to surpassing, Anthony Joshua been surpassed, and Wilder should feel embarrassed. I've said this several times, I'm gonna keep saying it. Wilder should feel embarrassed that he is not undisputed at heavyweight. Wilder should feel embarrassed. You should feel embarrassed. When Anthony Joshua turned pro, you had like 28 professional fights, homie. How you gonna let this dude just surpass you like that? How you gonna let this dude who you had almost 30 fights when he turned pro? When this guy was fighting in the Olympics, when Anthony Joshua was fighting in the London Olympics back in 2012. At that point, Deontay Wilder had like 25 fights. This is not a lie. I'm not over exaggerating. He had 25 professional fights back in 2012 when Anthony Joshua was a freaking amateur fighting in the Olympics. How you gonna let an amateur, a guy who was an amateur in the Olympics, surpass you? Like, don't you? Why? This is why people like me criticize you, homie. This is why people like me chastise you, homie. This is why people like me feel embarrassed that you are an American boxer and you making me, an American boxing fan, feel embarrassed because you let prospects, guys who were amateurs back in the Olympics, surpass you. Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe for the latest in boxing, and like I said, if you enjoy my content, please support the channel via Patreon. I make zero money, 0 cents on YouTube. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Thanks for watching. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.